You know what? I need to break the freaking matrix and get out of my comfort zone. I'm not out here stealing content. So Jayvee, if you want me to take down my video, I don't mind. I don't even get that many comments like that because my commentary adds the content. Plus, I've made my own videos in the past. But I just wanted to say that to meme. Anyways, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is Starfield, No Man's Skyrim. I mentioned it in my other video where I watched the Starfield release and said that this video was in the recommendations. So I said today, you know what, I want to check it out because, you know, I'm tired of giving a shit. If Jayvee wants me to take down my video, like I say in every video, then I do not mind. Yeah, this is edited. Shout out to Jay. You know, let's just let's waste no more time. And yeah, I don't know if I said it in my video, but I didn't even think to reference like we'll see if he references it in here, and I'll come back to it. But yeah, let's hop in. But right before we start, got tons and tons of reaction videos. Everyone sends me lovely videos, so send me videos if you want me to watch them and give my commentary over them, and follow me on Instagram for updates if you would like. Other than that, send out a lot of love. Remember, take destiny in your own hands, and let's go. It's like watching stuff, man.
Starfield.
After so many years of Fallout and Elder Scrolls games,
Hell
Todd
yeah.
and the team are finally doing something different.
Hell yeah.
Well, kind of.
Like our previous games, it's an epic role-playing game where you get to be who you want and go where you want. But this time, you'll be exploring space.
According to Todd, Starfield is basically
Yeah.
Skyrim in space
Yeah.
mixed with Fallout in space. If you're a fan of Bethesda's games, it looks like you're in luck.
Who's laughing now?
Because this does look like that create a character,
Such a fucking awkward laugh, but you put it in there.
wander around a world, talk to whoever you want, loot a bunch of stuff, level
Yeah.
up skills, craft items, kind of action RPG that we've been playing for 25 years. But it also looks like another game Bethesda didn't make, No Man's Sky. In the first bit of gameplay, Todd brings us to a moon called Crete. We come across this mining laser.
So this right here, I thought this was looking, oh wow, I didn't even know it was 66.6%. Funny, 666. I didn't even notice that this was No Man's Sky like referenced, or like kind of looks similar to it. I thought about another game with the resource collection, but I can't remember what it was.
Bit
But
where we
that's
gather some
crazy.
iron. This is the first time I was like, yeah, this does look like No Man's Sky.
Yeah.
If you played that game
That's
for
crazy.
like, I don't know, 5 minutes, you recognize this immediately. It's the same process for mining materials. But
Why is the FOV like at the face, bro? Look at the
It's- you
FOV. The FOV is too freaking
recognize
close,
this
bro.
immediately. It's the same process for mining materials.
Who is
but this is
playing
just one
from
of
the
many,
couch?
many comparisons I've seen. Because ever since the big reveal, the narrative has been Starfield looks like No Man's Sky.
So this is why we got to be careful about comparing games, like especially space games, because it's weird. But like, isn't it strange how space games really look comparable to each other rather than other like fantasy games? Like if I'm trying to think of an example that I could give, that I'm trying to think of like Skyrim and something else that it's like CSGO for shooters doesn't look anything like, or I said CSGO, right? Yeah, CSGO doesn't look anything like Valorant, but it mostly is the same basis. And then you could say the same for Skyrim and like Shadow of Mordor. You know what I'm trying to kind of say, where it's the fantasy world, sort of goblins and stuff. But then you get the space games, and you could also say this shit looks like Destiny. You know what I'm saying?
IGN made this montage, which shows that, yes, indeed, Starfield and No Man's Sky are both space games, where you walk around in a spacesuit, you see alien creatures, and you fly a
Yeah, but see, here's the difference: is in No Man's Sky, I'm pretty sure you're not doing things like Fallout and Skyrim. Like, there's never been really heavy like the heavy emphasis on choice making and different storylines and overarching paths. I don't know. I didn't play No Man's Sky, but I'm pretty sure it's not like that.
Spaceship. But if you take the whole of the gameplay and actually what's going on and think about what makes a Bethesda game,
yeah,
this looks more like a Bethesda game than anything to me.
Yeah,
I mean, just look at the lockpicking, the character creation, the
exactly.
dialogue scenes. Actually, the game that Starfield really
so
looks
going back to my comment in the beginning, this is what I was gonna say. Outer Worlds, right? That's the name of this, or Outer Wilds?
like to me is the Outer World.
Yeah, Outer Worlds. Because this would make so much more sense. I don't know if I said it in my last video, but there you go.
That game's actually an open world RPG where you make choices and go on quests. And
the only thing I would say is that as he's talking about going on quests and stuff, I keep pausing it because this is how I make my content. The only difference between, you know, Obsidian and what Bethesda started to do is, I don't know why they made it like this, but like, I guess it was they don't want to put in them as much work, or maybe it's just a lot more complicated. I don't know. I know game developing is pretty an intensive process, but I'm pretty sure fun, and the people that are behind game developing are passionate about it. So listen, if we have choices, we got to be able to kill everybody, and I'm pretty sure you can run through all of the Outer Worlds and kill absolutely every character you see, like complete Undertale. It's Undertale, right? Yeah, Undertale, like fucking murder run.
And the formula of killing and looting and all of that is
a masochist run, I think it is.
Way more like a Bethesda game because it's made by Obsidian, who made Fallout New Vegas. Another thing people have been pointing out is the shooting, and I do think I want to go back and play that. I don't know if it's because this was recorded in 30 FPS or they gave the controller to a monkey. It doesn't seem quite as tight as say Fallout 4 does. But then again, when I think back, the Fallout 4 reveal trailer combat didn't look the best.
It didn't look, you know, because I swear they pass the controller over to like a fucking rock or some shit.
Maybe it'll be better.
Or like, I don't know.
Better in the game. I'm waiting to see more on that. Speaking of 30 FPS, the performance in this thing looks janky. You know, people say Bugthesda for a reason. They've definitely earned that reputation over the years. But the one thing that gives me hope is that Starfield isn't coming out this year. It just got delayed. Apparently, the whole game is playable from start to finish right now, which means Bethesda should be spending the next 6 or so months polishing. That's a lot of time.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Polish your games before they come out. I'm sorry. I know it's coming from a dude who doesn't develop games, but it comes from a guy who plays the finished product. You gotta take your time. It's okay, take your time. I'd rather have a game that works than a game that's super buggy. And I don't even mind the bugs in a game when it comes out. It's just take your time
to fix any problems that should come up, but I'm not holding my breath for a perfect launch.
True.
There's gonna be problems.
There's gonna be problems.
I just hope they're not game breaking. And then Todd said this at the very end.
Let's take a look at one of our planets, Jemison.
Jemison?
You can land into Atlantis, but you can also land and explore anywhere on the planet. And it's not just this planet, it's all the planets in the system. From barren but resource-heavy ice balls to Goldilocks planets with life. And not just this system, but over 100 systems. Over 1,000 planets, all open for you to explore.
So when he said this, I said in my video, let's not hope, keep your expectations low. And I don't know if they're going to be like randomly generated. I don't know.
I feel like maybe 10 years ago, people would have lost their minds at this. 1,000 planets to explore across 100 systems. But we've seen so many big open world games that sort of sacrifice the size of their worlds for the actual gameplay experience. You're spending more time traveling between point A and point B with nothing interesting to do, rather than having it be fun the entire time.
That is such a good point, bro. That is such a good point, because if the traveling between each of these planets is not fun, that will be a big tank on the game, because you're obviously you're not even gonna want to go to the other planets. Funny enough, 999 right there on the dashboard, but you're not gonna want to go So hopefully there's a fast way to travel and maybe a way to skip the space battles, because games I played, like I think Star Wars, I don't really like flying a ship and battling an airplane, or well, battling in like the spaceship. I'll just say
It's another
spaceship.
reason No Man's Sky gets brought up, because it famously uses procedural generation to give
Procedural
new
generated. I didn't know if that was the name, so I said randomly generated, but yeah, procedurally
there's
generated.
new planets to explore that have never been found before. Now, I haven't played No Man's Sky since the billion updates that it's received and all the praise that it's gotten for continuing to improve, which is great and all. But my memory of No Man's Sky is finding a lot of empty, barren planets with not quite a lot of things to do. There's
So that's, you know what, that's not even good that he mentioned there's gonna be barren planets, because what the fuck would be the point of going to them? You might as well, within this 6 months of polishing, cut that shit out.
some mining materials, perhaps you could build a base on that planet, but it's very much like an empty landscape for you to sort of craft and make your own. I think that's what a lot of people remember about No Man's Sky, whether it's true now or not. That's the parallel that's being drawn with Starfield. Now, obviously, when you talk about 1,000 planets, there is no way Bethesda could have been working on this game for 10 years and it wouldn't have been long enough for them to handcraft and create that many planets. Just 2 years ago, Todd Howard explained that Bethesda is using procedural generation in order to create the map in Starfield and the Elder Scrolls 6.
But that is
whenever that comes out. But it's also true that Bethesda has used procedural generation
come on, Elder Scrolls 6
in the past to generate their maps, and then they go back through and add things to sort of populate it and make it feel real and alive. But again, I don't think even if Bethesda was given 10 years to work on Starfield that they could have procedurally generated 1,000 planets and then gone back through and populated them to make them all feel like good and interesting. Plus, there's another thing. Apparently, you can land anywhere on any of these planets and explore. We still don't know how big each map is going to be. But this thing is going to be massive. So if you do the math, if you like apply some basic logic, there's no way that every single location you visit in Starfield is going to feel handcrafted. But the trick is, how do they make that interesting, And I think we don't know enough yet about the moment-to-moment gameplay to answer that question. There's still unknowns with Starfield. One thing I will say is, going back and playing a lot of Fallout and Skyrim, Bethesda does know how to craft a gameplay loop. So what I mean by that is making it interesting moment to moment in these larger worlds. Like, you get a quest, you kind of go on your way, but it's sort of a wanderlust experience where something catches your eye, or there's a dynamic world where interesting things happen around you that sort of pull your attention away, and then you just get lost and you wander and you talk to new people and you just kind of get sucked into the experience of being in that world. What happens?
God, he makes me want to go back and play Skyrim and Fallout myself.
When you give players a spaceship and say you can go to 1,000 planets and land anywhere on them and explore. I don't know. Nobody knows. And the closest answer we have to that is No Man's Sky. So that's why this comparison, it's like, it makes a lot of sense on a surface level to me. I mean, just look at the star map. That's another obvious comparison here. You can tell that we're going to be navigating via a star map.
But isn't that the same in like Warframe, and it's kind of the same in Destiny?
But the key difference here, we actually know from that same developer interview, Todd explains we are all going to be playing the same map. We're all going to have the same 1,000 planets. So that means Bethesda isn't just running a procedural thing every single time you go to a new planet. That planet exists in everyone's game.
Oh, in everyone's game.
Maybe that means they've had the time to go in and sort of personalize those places and make them feel real rather than computer generated. There's a lot more to dive into, but I don't want to make this like a trailer breakdown analysis video like I used to do a million years ago. Things I do want to point out, these cities look really good to me. I mean, they look populated, so many people, just actual life walking around. And one thing I've noticed playing Bethesda's previous games is, for the most part, except for like guards and enemies, everyone has a name. And I think that's really important for a game. You can't just have like spaceship dude number 5.
Yes. It's like when you first get to Whiterun, like, and like everyone in the market, it's just, I feel like We got to give him some credit on knowing how to do cities.
You know,
Or even
everyone
like,
should have a name.
Fallout 4, when you get to, where is it? Because it's the Boston thing. You know where I'm talking about, where you meet Piper and Mayor McDonough.
Everyone should have a little something to say, even if it's one line. That adds so much to an atmosphere and making a game feel real. So I hope they went that route with these cities. These faces look really good to me, and by really good,
yes. Oh my gosh, he's hitting on the same things I practically was hitting on. Like they like did the whole "it's not broke, don't fix it" thing.
But I mean,
just improve on it
for a Bethesda game where, if there's 1,000 planets, gosh, I don't know how many NPCs there's gonna be, right? Like, they look good enough to where, yeah, this looks like a real human being that I'm interacting with, not just someone spitting out lines, you know, like a robot. The UI in this game looks really clean, and I think Bethesda's always had a knack for a clean UI. Maybe not the most functional. I'm thinking about you, Skyrim with your favorites menu. Like, things could get better. Menu? They've gotten a lot better, like with Fallout 4 and being able to favorite things on a controller with the D-pad like that was huge. We already see that in some of the gameplay, you know, switching between weapons, but I think it looks really slick so far. And then the character creator, I think, looks fantastic, especially if you're a fan of Bethesda's action RPGs. It really does feel like they brought in the best of the last 3 big games, not counting 76. We don't talk about Fallout 76.
We don't talk about Fallout 76. Oh my god, I said that in my video.
Sort of like
well, not that we don't talk
starter
about it,
skill set is very Bethesda, and also the traits, some really wacky, interesting ideas there. That's also very The Outer Worlds. And then we actually got to see what the skills menu looks like and how you level these things up. And that's awesome. I think a nice blend of how Skyrim works.
I really like how the emblem changes when it's just amazing.
To where as you use something, you get better at doing that. I think that is a really good system for an RPG, especially a Bethesda game. And then you have the more survival elements. So gathering materials, building your...
Though this is Fallout 76, like I said, this is more Fallout 76.
Own outposts and actually outfitting them. Then that extends to building your own spaceship, which nobody expected. A lot of people were debating whether manual space flight would even be in the game. I know that was a huge conversation on the Starfield subreddit, but like when that was shown, I think a lot of people lost their minds, you know? It far exceeded expectations. To me, I've never been a fan of base building. It's just not super fun to me. I don't love the idea of gathering a bunch of materials. That's very much like a survival crafting sort of game experience, but at the same time...
Yeah, okay, so I do. I'm very heavy into mad survival games. I've played, I think, way too many. Mostly some of, like, I don't think there's way too many, like, in terms of... Because I feel like they're, like, kind of the same with horror games. I think there's more horror games than there are, like, really good survival games. But I like survival games, like... And one of the hardest I've ever played, I think, is Subsistence. And I put myself through the ringer with that. Because the progression in that is almost like... You'll never get to a point where you'll just have stocked up stuff, but you will always need to go out and get more. Like, that game is really survival, where it's like, okay, we got enough electricity right now, blah blah blah. And I kind of like that. And I didn't even get to the part where I've seen people build insane bases in that, but that's the only problem I have, is depending on how you gather resources and stuff in the game makes the base building fun, because you want it to still be accessible but challenging enough where, or not even challenging, or just where you need to put the time in a little bit, but still where you can get to the actual base building. Because I don't like the long drawn out collecting of resources.
It looks like if I want to just build one outpost, probably as part of the main mission, get a bunch of people to run it for me, then I won't even have to worry about it, which is, you know, something I'm hoping for. But yeah, I mean, give me that shipbuilding. That looks really fun. And the fact that I can hire a crew for my ship as well.
Yeah.
Like, it just kind of takes several steps further in a lot of sci-fi games that we haven't seen. And one final thing before we close out the video that I think is really big. I think if Starfield had a voice protagonist, we would have seen it. And the reason we didn't see it is because it doesn't exist. Bethesda confirmed on Twitter as I was making this video, there is no voice protagonist. It's silent. So you may be wondering, why am I excited about this? Why is this a good thing? It's so clear to me after playing Fallout 4 and then going back to Skyrim that as an RPG, it's so important to have a silent protagonist where you can project your own story,
voice,
your
yes.
own headcanon,
Yes.
whatever,
Yes.
into the player.
Exactly.
And into
Yes. That right there. Yes. 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 That right there, bro.
to the world. When
yes.
you're choosing just from 4 options from a voice that's been pre-recorded, it's great for the presentation. I won't lie, it looks better, but at the same time, it limits what we can do as the player and how we can interact with the world. So the fact that they've decided to go backwards in that sense actually is a step forward for me, especially as an RPG. So there's just a lot to be excited about for Starfield, but I really do want to see more. Particularly, I want to see more combat. I want to see that be a little less
smoother
janky.
combat. Yeah,
and I also
yeah,
want to see
exactly.
this in
Boom.
like
we're on the same wave, bro.
true 60 FPS. I want this to be like running well. And
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
once we see that, that'll be really exciting. So I guess my message with this video is Starfield does look like No Man's Sky in a lot of ways, but in a lot of ways it doesn't. In a lot of ways it looks...
It's not gonna operate like it though. I don't feel. I think some things may seem the same, but just in terms of how the worlds are built, they're 2 different games in space, right?
It's like a Bethesda game. It looks like the Outer Worlds to me. And I think that's more like, if you talk about the whole of the experience and what's going to feel like to play Starfield, it's going to feel like playing a Bethesda game. Thank you guys so much for watching. I don't make these kinds of videos anymore, but as you could probably tell, it's kind of a passion project. I'm really excited for Starfield. So if you enjoyed this, if you want to see more things like this, go ahead, like the video, hit the subscribe button, click that bell to turn on notifications so you don't miss the next one. Thanks again for watching, and I'll talk to you next time.
Dope! Really good video, my guy. Really good video. I enjoyed that. I can't wait for Starfield, bro. I'm hoping Starfield captures me back like Skyrim first did and like Fallout New Vegas. Fallout 4 was really good. I enjoyed Fallout 4, but Skyrim will always still have a special place in my heart. I even have my girlfriend getting into it, and it's her first time playing Skyrim. Brother, like that, I wish that experience of first playing Skyrim, like, you know, is just, you could relive it through someone else. Like Skyrim is such a good game to me. It does have, everything has its quirks, like I said, just to sum that up really quickly. But I'm hoping Starfield returns that, because I've been getting in a little bit more sci-fi back with the recent announcement of like Alien, like Predator, and then some of the Alien games. I've been kind of thinking, hey, you know, and even like about to watch the show Westworld, so we're getting like pretty like Westworld's Western, but like still like sci-fi with the whole AI stuff. So been getting more sci-fi, and Destiny has come up a couple times, so it's like I think I'm being pulled in the sci-fi direction. Anyway, shout out to Jayvee again. Jayvee, and shout out to everyone who watched this far. And if you're here, Jayvee, good video, my guy. And I'm out of here. Much love and moonlight, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.